One. Sweet guys, in this video today, I am going to be speaking about both of our content journeys, right? Where we have both amassed over 300,000 followers combined, right? Over the last 6 years, right? Of us just being on, well, me being on social media for the last 6 years, Court being a media creator for the last, let's say 30 years, from music to movies and TV, etc. And just in the last 3 years alone, his social media allowed him to earn over 300,000 plus, right? Like it's still pumping numbers, right? It's not like it stopped. So he's been able to do that over the last 3 years just with his social media. And for me, my social media has allowed me to work inside of multiple companies that have been earning over 5 figures per month, over 6 figures per month, right? And so I got the inside of what these businesses have done, and he's got the outside of just building a massive, massive audience. And I've built an audience as well. So before, I dive into the video and really give you guys the meat and potatoes of all of this, right? If you're wondering who I am, my name is Duno Clanor. I am the COO of Legacy Builders University, and you've got Big Court. I'll let him introduce himself.
And of course, you guys should know who I am. If you don't, I'm Big Court of the Holding Court podcast, and I am the head honcho of Legacy Builders. And again, my social media journey started my entertainment journey started years ago with No Limit Records. I worked closely with Master P, music mogul Master P. And so fast forward, of course, we didn't have social media and the internet then. Fast forward now, I'm doing and replicating that same success in social media. So yeah, let's get started. Let's get into it.
Sweet. So to really break down how we're going to help you guys just have the much deeper understanding on how to grow, the first thing we're going to do is basically just speak on what it takes to get to your first 100 followers, right? Because that first 100, it can come from your friends, family. Some of you probably got 100 right now on just Instagram that are not even doing anything for you, right? But we're basically going to speak on how it took for what it took for us to get to our first 100, and then how we just kept on growing and growing and growing. So I'll throw that first question to you, Court, right? Like, what do you think are some of the key factors of someone getting their first 100 followers on social media starting from complete zero?
Man, one thing that I stress all the time, and I know I sound like a broken record if you guys watch all of our Legacy Builder content in reference to this subject, is consistency, consistency, consistency. Now, I will say this kind of to the point of what you just said, you have your friends and your family and all of that. But I'm going to tell you, nobody's going to support you like a stranger you never met. I'm telling you, right? Your friends and your family, do not rely on them. They know you, they've been knowing you, they know your story. They're not excited about what you got going on. It's cool if they hit the like button. It's even better if they drop a comment to help with the engagement. But it's really finding those first 100 people that you don't know, those strangers. Now, where that's the most important thing is to, for one, educate yourself to the functions of the app that you're using. I always tell people, utilize all of the functions of the app. Utilize it. Now, I'm gonna give some game and a little secret of what I do. Like on IG, what I learned is, okay, so you're posting your content, right? And so I don't want to jump all over the place, but let me just give you a little technique. So you're posting your content, right? Okay, cool. What I find is, so depending on what you're into and what your content is, right? And say if you're into gardening, you may follow other sites or other bigger blogs that are talk about gardening or whatever, right? It's important that you engage with those bigger sites, right? So when you go and drop a comment, try to say something that stands out. Try to say something that resonates, because what'll happen is when you do that, people are going to tap on your profile and they're going to come see what you have going on, and you want to be open for business. So you want to make sure that you have high quality content. You want to make sure that you're ready to go. So then when people say, well, damn, who said that? And they go and they look at it, they come and check you out. They're like, oh, wow, okay. And they follow. So presentation is everything. So the package, you want high quality content. You want to make sure you use all the functions. The reels, you want to post pictures, you want to use your stories. On TikTok, same thing. YouTube, same thing. You want to use the shorts. You want to utilize everything that they offer you because it's all to your benefit because they're incentivized to keep you busy and keep people entertained. So they're giving you the tools to really get it going. You just, and you have to experiment with what works, what doesn't. Have fun with it. Don't make it so dutiful and so, to where it's like a job. No, have fun with it, So that would be my advice is utilize all the functions. And again, presentation is everything. I can't stress that enough. No matter what it is, make sure your presentation is correct. Make sure your messaging of your brand is clear, concise, and correct. So that would be my advice for the first 100.
Now, I completely agree. And to even, let's say, add on, right? Like when Court mentions the platforms, the best platform to start on is the one you are using all the time. Because
Mm-hmm.
you already understand how that platform functions. You already understand what you like, what you don't like. You understand where the likes are, where the
Mm-hmm.
dislike is, right? Or whatever, where, sometimes if you're pointing, you're telling people to like, you're telling people to comment, you're telling people to
Mm-hmm.
share. You already know where most of the, let's say, the buttons on that app
Mm-hmm.
is.
Mm-hmm.
So you now have an advantage, right? Because now you understand the platform. All you have to do is start creating content. And one of the most important aspects of starting is just starting, right?
Yep.
But once you start getting, let's say, if you start with shorts compared to long form, once you make your first 10, now you're doing 20, now you're hitting 30, you're really going to start to find your voice, really going to start to figure out exactly who you want to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for those of you that are in Legacy Builders University already, you will have a lot of the resources to help you hone in on the exact person that you want to speak to for your product, for your services, for your even just for those of you that are, let's say, entertainers, where you make music or you have a talent, right? We help you focus on who to speak to or who to present your content to when you're creating content. And so what Court says, a lot of it has to do with not only just starting, because a lot of people overthink. One of our clients, Alicia, I was reviewing her content and she could not, stand how she looked in the video. And I was
Yeah.
like, look, everything you're noticing,
Yeah.
I'm not noticing. But
Right.
again, we're our worst critics, right? Like we're
That's
gonna
true.
be the ones that are like, man, like,
Mhm.
why do I look like this right now? Why do I look
But
like this?
but let me interject real quick, Duno. But that's good, but you have to balance it. You don't want to overthink it to where you paralyze yourself with fear and overthinking it, right? But it's good to put content up and then critique yourself. I've done that a lot because, of course, with me having the Hold the Court podcast, I do a lot of speaking. So naturally, I just did it there. We tend to have a lot of filler words. And so I've cut down on it substantially, but I would watch myself and I say, dang, okay, I need to stop tilting my head like this. Okay, I need to, stop saying, stop saying so much. So this is how you get better. So nothing wrong with critiquing yourself, just not to the point to where where you're looking for perfection. No, no, no. You're just looking to get a little bit better each time. It's never going to be perfect. That's not what we're here for, right? And to be honest with you, people don't like overproduced content. Like it needs to have a level of authenticity where there is a little bit of flaw there, where people
Mhm.
can people tend to identify with stuff when it's a little, it's
Exactly.
maybe a little flawed. It's human. It's still human. So I think you balance that. So that's a good point.
Exactly. Exactly. And when you mention being human and just people don't expect perfection, right? I think that was one
Right.
of the biggest things. I remember
Mhm.
a few years ago working with some of my clients when TikTok first came out. The biggest thing that made TikTok blow up was people stopped trying to be so
Yeah.
perfect. Like
Yes.
Instagram was be perfect, look
Yeah.
perfect, filters, everything.
Right.
TikTok, you started seeing people just recording, no matter how
Just
they look,
recording.
anywhere. And that made the application blow up. And it's still true today. The more you can just, people just want the content, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, packaging is important. Who you're trying to reach is going to matter. But when you're just starting and your main focus is supposed to be just starting, it's getting that first no,
Mhm.
once you get the first one recorded, you're on your way to 10, you're on your way to getting your 100 pieces of content out there, and it'll come faster than you think,
Yeah.
especially if you're a business owner, because now you have more purpose with creating your content. You're trying to get clients, you're trying to get leads, you're trying
Mhm.
to grow, right? And so the more you get, let's say, strategic and just focused, the faster getting those followers will be. Now, the next thing I want to kind of transition into is going from 100 to 1,000, because this is where a lot of people will start to overthink, right? Because you have followers, you're like, well, why do I have 100 followers but I'm only getting 5 likes? Why do I have 300 followers but I'm only getting 10 likes? Understand that behind those 10 likes, it's still a real person clicking like,
Mhm.
like that's still a person who's genuinely interested in your content that's clicking like. And that person is someone who most likely genuinely open to buying from you, unless it's your mom, that's just like all your videos, right?
Mhm.
But I want to kind of throw that to you, right? So getting to your
Mhm.
first 1,000 and then staying away from constantly like, man, like, why am I only getting 10 likes? Why am I only getting
Let
five
me,
likes?
yeah. So let me say one thing. One thing, be patient and walk your journey. Comparison is the thief of joy. So the minute that you start looking at someone else's journey that may be 10 years ahead of yours, and you're looking at, well, dang, they got 100,000 likes and I only got 7. They may have been doing it for 10 years. You know what I mean? So everybody's working from a different vantage point. So be patient with yourself. And I encourage people to look at it like this, right? Because I went through that as well. I tell people, imagine you renting out a theater or a space, right? And you have something to say, right? You say, hey, y'all, I got something to say. Okay, gather around, gather around. Now, mind you, you have no notoriety, you're not famous, but you got 10 people to stop for a second, come into your space and listen to what you got going on. And when they listen, they said, good job. So you have to think about it like that, right? You got 10 people to stop and listen at what you were saying and acknowledge you. So again, so you figure, let me tell you this story real quick. So again, like I said, and it's not my story, but it's a story that I'm connected to. So my friend, music mogul Master P, when he first started in the early 90s, he opened up for known acts. He opened up for Tupac. And I remember he said that he was on stage. He said the guy that introduced him didn't even respect him. He was like, yeah, this is Master P, the country singer. And he was like, what? Like, because he was from New Orleans, he was like, man, I ain't no country singer. I'm a rapper. So anyway, he said he gets up there, he does his thing. And, and he said that it was only one person in the audience that was bouncing, that was rocking with him. And so he said to his brother, man, I got me one. He said, you got you what? He said, I got me a fan. And he said, so if I got one, I can turn them into millions. And he inevitably did. He took that one and he sold over 100 million records. You know what I mean? So again, all it takes is just one. You know what I mean? So that's a story that's well known. And, again, me being connected to that story. But, and then what he did and what I admonish you guys to do, he found out what was working and then he leaned into that and replicated that. So that's what you do. If you put stuff out there, a lot of this stuff is throwing stuff up against the wall to see what sticks. That's what you're going to be doing initially. Okay. Even under best well-laid plans. Okay. You're going to go into it. You're going to be throwing stuff at the wall. Let me see what sticks. And when you see something that sticks, say, okay, all right, let me lean into that. Let me try to do more of that. Now I'll be very honest with y'all. Throughout that journey, even leaning into that, it will start to evolve and look different too. And another thing I want to tell you guys too, just being 100. Don't think that just because you're not getting traction, that is because no one likes you or no one cares. Your biggest adversary, the biggest thing you're fighting against is technology. So many times you don't get traction or you're not getting likes because people just aren't seeing it, not because they don't like it. So I want you to understand, because a lot of people will become despondent and they'll get frustrated, like, oh man, it's like, no, you're fighting technology. Figure out how to get around that. Maybe you're posting at the wrong time. Maybe you're using the wrong hashtags. Maybe there's profanity in there. There's a myriad of variables that could be working against you with the algorithm. So figure that part out. And one last thing that I want to tell people, depending on your content, but I would say all content, but especially if you're speaking or you're demonstrating or something like that, the more you can get to the point, boom, boom, bam, out of there, because people have short attention spans. So again, this was hard for me because obviously you see me talk. I'm very wordy. I'm very verbose. So this took practice for me. When you're making content, you got to get in there, say what it is, hook them. Okay, bam. And then, you know, if you go all around the mulberry bush, just because TikTok give you 10 minutes don't mean you need to use it. You know what I'm saying? Especially depending on what your content is. So I just want to share that little jewel right there.
So something extremely important you brought up was the stage,
Mhm.
right? It reminded me of this story of that 500 views you got. Imagine how hard it was to get something to even get in front of
Yeah,
500 people. Like
exactly.
let's say 50, even not even 50, 100 years ago. Imagine
Mhm.
how hard you had to get 500 people in a room.
Yes.
Now you can just do it from the comfort of your home, and
Yep.
500 people viewed your content. Now, did they all stay for they didn't all stay for the show. Some of them left early, right?
Mhm.
But the ones that stayed, they stayed. They may not clap,
Yep.
but they still stayed, right? And
Right.
so guess what? These algorithms, what are they paying attention to? The likelihood of someone staying through your entire piece of
Mhm.
content. And so that's why it's always important to, like, as a business owner, you should always be looking at your data. You should always be looking at your stats. So don't underplay your social media, because that's your business. So
Yep.
always be looking at the data to understand, people stayed and watched 30 seconds of this video. Even though, it's a minute, they stayed for 30 seconds. What did I
Mhm.
do in the first 30 seconds that I didn't do in the second half? And so as
Mhm.
you start to pay attention to that, it will allow for you to start producing better content that can start to perform even more. Even
Mhm.
with, let's say, even with you getting to your first 1,000, or even uh leveraging, all the resources, like for those of you in the community, in the university, right? Some of the resources that I'm creating, that Court's created, that our other coaches are creating, that stuff is helping you guys have the most closest to perfect strategy for yourself, right?
Mhm.
Like AI is changing the game right now, and I just created a complete training, literally helping you guys do 90 days of content for you busy business owners,
Man.
right? 90 days in a single day.
Man, wish I had this years ago. Oh, man.
Nah, like
Yeah.
it's crazy how the game has changed, especially for, the two of us. We started content before everybody who's starting now,
Yeah.
right? And
Right.
these platforms, they're evolving to the point where pretty soon they're going to be charging to get the views. Like they're already playing games with everyone right now, where they're trying to,
It's a
they're
fact.
driving up the cost for the advertisers on the platforms.
It's a
But
fact.
like think about that. It's better to start now. Like the best time to start was what, 10, like the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The next best time
Mhm.
is right now, right? So
Mhm.
for a lot of you that are, like struggling, that man, like I cannot get to my first 1,000 followers, you need to be assessing your content all the time and
Yep.
paying attention, because why did this person like this video? What got them to like?
Mhm.
Okay, I got 10 people to like it. Why did these 10 people like? Right? You need to always be asking questions, because those questions are what's going to allow you to start to produce even better content. So now, you know, obviously me and Court, we've had different content journeys, right? His has mainly been podcasts and, let's say, really just, what's the right word?
Well, mine was mainly lifestyle, because of my celebrity association, you know what I mean? So it's
Exactly.
always it started more with lifestyle. I just started just showing people the cool shit I was doing, so yeah.
Sweet. And then exactly. So that was his format, and it worked for him. For me, it started off as just being a kid in his room recording content, and then I started to find my voice. And then I started to speak about, like just getting into the topics that people wanted me to talk about, right? Your journey is probably different. You've probably got 50 years, 10 years, 20 years of this experience. That specific experience, you talking about it already attracts an audience who likes you for that piece of content, right? And so it's understanding that one, everybody's journey is different. I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
Court's got some crazy stories that he can tell you of times where he's got a lot of views and it's tanked. And I can talk
Oh
about
man.
times I've gotten views, tanked, banned, all these
And
things.
and that's and not to cut you off, I'm sorry, Duno, but that's an important point too. Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. Um, you can educate yourself, right? And you can go in with the best well-laid plans, but at the end of the day, some of this stuff is just, even knowing what you're doing, you never really can tell what it's going to do, because as a content creator, I've had I've had content, I've had interviews that I knew like, oh man, we gonna blow up this. Oh, I'm finna kill him with this and put it out. And for no rhyme or reason, it's like, you know, then I'll be honest with you. I've had content where I just, oh, well, let me just get it out and wake up the next day like, well, damn, you know, like really? Y'all connected with that? So, this why it's important to, volume, consistency. You really have to feed the monster. You really have to feed the monsters. And I know so many influencers that, are used to millions of views and all of that. Even on their level, they'll say the same thing, so where me and Duno are saying, well, hey, if we hit 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, we feel like, okay, that was a winner. Well, for them, they're used to 20, 30 million. So they'll say, man, I had
A
content
stinker.
that did 1 million. You know what I mean? But when they're used to doing 20, so it applies to everybody. It applies to everybody. I follow Will Smith, and I've seen posts where Will Smith, who we all know, of course, he'll have content that I literally seen where it's maybe 10,000 is low for him. You know what I mean? He'll have 10,000 likes. But then I've seen stuff where he's literally got 2 million, 3 million. So it's like, damn, what's the difference between him getting 10,000 likes on something and then something that got 10 million, same with The Rock, so but these are people that have, volume. They continue to feed the machine, so, and I think that, to be honest with you, a lot of that has to do with, what I said before. It's just that people may not be seeing it. And you have to understand, theoretically, even if you have, okay, that's just like, say for instance, on my IG, I have 70,000 followers, right? I follow about 1,600 people. Honestly, I only see probably the same 50 people, if that. So those 1,500 other people, I don't even know who they are, or I've forgotten who they are because I never see their stuff. So you got to remember that just because you have, you know, 10,000 followers does not mean 10,000 people are seeing your content. And do know, you could probably tell me better, but what the rule of thumb is, what is it, 3%? Is it 3 to 5% that actually is engaging and seeing your content? So I'm saying that to say, if you make your first 1,000 followers and say you're getting a consistent 50 to 100 likes, technically you're doing really well. You're doing really good just by the quotient and the sheer numbers of the percentages of how that works. So again, you have to reverse that. If you follow a couple thousand people, you don't see a couple thousand people stuff.
Exactly.
So
And the biggest
simplify.
thing, exactly. And the biggest thing a lot of people really, really need to pay attention to is its competition, right?
Mhm.
You're not competing against your neighbor. You're competing
Right.
against everybody on social media.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
this isn't to scare you away, but you're also competing with Netflix, who's got their platform. You're also
Mhm.
competing with email. You're also competing with
Mhm.
them being at work and their boss talking to them, right? So you got to understand that everything is fighting for people's attention nowadays, right? So
Hmm.
somebody might open Instagram and they see your content, boom, okay, now they got off of Instagram. Just because they saw your content and got off of Instagram, Instagram is already like, dang, okay, well, this maybe this piece of content isn't that good. So now they're not
Right,
going to push it, even though it
right,
has nothing to do with
right.
your content. That person just, they're on a lunch break, they found your content,
Exactly.
oh, they got to go back to
Right.
work, right? And
Hmm.
I know a lot of people are like, man, can you guys, some of you listening, you're probably like, can you guys get into tactics already? Look, there's two things you really got to pay attention to.
Yeah.
It's strategy and tactics, right?
Hmm.
Strategy lasts a lifetime, right? Like that's why you have books about war strategy and all this stuff.
Hmm.
Tactics change, right?
Yep.
Today this is trending. Today is hashtags. Tomorrow hashtags don't work. Tomorrow
That's
if
right.
you use this hashtag, it's
Hmm.
banned, right? So
Yep.
for a
That's a
lot of you
fact.
that are probably just hungry for tactics, look, tactics change, but the
Hmm.
strategies and the fundamentals are what's the most important. Like the fundamentals that I'm pretty sure Court probably sticks to as well is one, what's going to get people to really want to click on this? Let's say if you're on YouTube, what's going to get someone to really want to click on my video? Another
Hmm.
thing, for those of you who may not be aware of this, and I apparently like I think I'm old now because this kid literally when I told her, look, search up for this thing, right? Because she was asking me, I forget what she was asking me about. It was like some celebrity or something. I was like, yeah, just look up this person because they didn't know what they looked like. She went on Instagram to search for the person, and then this other one went on TikTok to search. So Gen Z, all right, or the younger
Right.
generation, they're
Yeah.
using these social media platforms as my Google, which
It's Google.
I'm
Right.
like, what? Why?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's better. And so think about this. If you start to optimize your content to be searched, that's going to put you at an advantage, especially if you're creating
Yep.
more educational content because people are constantly trying to learn. And because
Yep.
they're trying to learn, sometimes, like, I'm pretty sure there's times I've ended up on videos that taught me things where I wasn't even looking for that topic, but I was like, man, I just learned something new. I'm gonna follow this person. So it's
Oh yeah.
like, as you as you focus more on the strategy, what works the best is one, what's going to get someone to want to click or watch your video when it comes up on a search. And number two, it's watch time. How long can you keep someone on your videos? Those
Yes.
are the two most important things. Now,
That's a
obviously,
fact.
there's other metrics to track, but I want to kind of throw that to you, Court.
Yes, I can't stress enough how important watch time is because there's a difference between being viewed and being watched. Um, I like to say, kind of a terminology I came up with is, excuse me, man, I just lost my thought. You have to cut this part out. Okay, I'm ready. So a terminology that I kind of coined was vanity metrics. A lot of people will, trip on the view, the view, the view. And on some platforms that could be true. I think on IG, okay, because of short form content, view, it's not necessarily a watch time type thing. But when you get to YouTube, because now you're talking about ads, that tells the story. So you can have a person with, 1 million views, but only, 1,000 of those people actually watch the full content, right? They're not going to make as much money as someone that maybe got 10,000 views and 10,000 people sat through the whole thing. So watch time is very important. Now you say, well, how do I increase my watch time? Well, that goes in what Duno said is the strategy of creating compelling content, learning how to keep people drawn into what it is you're doing. Again, and as he said with the tactics of how you groomed everybody to buy into what it is you're giving them and then keeping their attention and wanting them to come back for more and wanting. So I have an actor background as well, right? A producer background. So there's a reason when you watch a movie, if you notice and you pay attention and you know how to watch the movie, you understand there's three acts. There's an act A, B, and C. And then at the end of the day, if you notice in every movie, it's the first part tells the story, and then it creates a problem and you have to figure out what each character wants. What are they wanting? Then if you notice in every movie, it seems all good, then everything falls apart. And then that keeps you engaged because now you're like, okay, everything that fell apart, now you're either rooting or you're trying to figure out what happened or why. So you don't realize, but psychologically, they're taking you through these things to keep your attention and keep you there. And it's in stages because if it was just like this through the whole movie, if there were no levels to it, you would tune out. All right. You would tune out like, oh, okay. Well, I know what's going to happen. I'm bored. I see it. I've been here. It's dragging. You ever watch movies that are dragging and you just be like, no, this
Yeah.
is too much. So the same applies with your content. You don't want it to drag. You want to, as I said earlier, you want to boom, 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 get out of there. You know what I mean? So get to it. So just like a movie, you want to have your acts. And that's what's going to help you sustain these viewers. That's what's going to help you keep their attention. So that watch time, the more watch time you get, the more money you make, so.
100%, especially let's say for a lot of you that are business owners or that are starting your own businesses just from your social media, the main things you're always going to want to pay attention to is keeping people on your videos. Why?
Mhm.
Because the longer you can keep them on your videos, the more you can talk about your offers and the more you can, give a little hint about your upcoming project, right? Because now they've stuck through to the end. And as humans, we kind of want to give back, right? Like you've given us so much, let's say, value. Like, oh my goodness, every day, every time I watch this person's videos, it's always
Yep.
teaching me something new, or it's always helping me through, whatever. Now they trust you more. And now when you tell them, hey, I'm putting this thing together and I'm just looking for the first 5 people that are interested. Now you've got those first 5 people who really trust you that now want to work with you. And now, now you can use those first 5 people to then get your next 5 people. Now you got 10 people you've worked with. Now you can use those results to get the next 100. Now you got 100. Now, and you can just keep scaling this up.
Mhm.
And it's the same thing with, what Court was just talking about with the acts. And a lot of it is, for me to sum it up on the social media side compared to the, let's say, movie TV side, it's just, what is your hook at the beginning? What are you
Yeah.
giving me once you hooked me, right? Now, why can you keep me, right? So I hooked your attention. I'm giving you the reason I hooked you in, right? Now, because I'm giving you the reason to, like, oh my goodness, did you see what happened to, this president today? I just
Mhm.
hooked you in because you're like, man, what happened to this president today?
Exactly.
Now I'm telling you exactly what happened. But
Yeah.
if I drag the story, now you're like, all right, swipe. But if I give you a little bit and then I hook you in again, I'm
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
then they did this.
you
Totally.
know, I had to, not to cut you off, I had to learn that, right? And captioning is important too. So if you talk about YouTube or really all of them, but let's say YouTube, your thumbnail, your caption is everything. And what I used to do, and I had to learn, I would think that telling you, sometimes it does make sense to tell people what it is, but then sometimes it makes sense to be a little more ambiguous. So for instance, I just had Zab Judah on the show. So he said some very deep and prophetic and heartfelt things about Mike Tyson that were good. But again, okay, now will people click on this if I say Zab Judah says great things about Mike Tyson? Maybe, maybe not, right? But if I say Zab Judah says what he truly feels about Mike Tyson, you won't believe it. Well, that's kind of like, wow, is he funking with him? Is this messy or whatever? So that gives me a better chance. And also, I've kind of programmed your brain what to think going in. That's another part of it too. That's how important captioning is because, you know, as Malcolm X once said, he who controls images controls people's minds. And that's very, very true because you can have a small piece of content, right? And I can program you with the caption of what I want you to think and believe going into it. And the conversation can be very ambiguous. It can be because context can get lost. If I shave a couple seconds here and move this back and shave that, oh, the whole context of the whole thing has shifted. So now, oh, it's ambiguous, right? Because I cut off this part, and when I cut that off, it changed everything. But now I program you of what I want you to believe this ambiguous part. So those are some of the, as Duno said, the tactics and the strategies that you use, and how you want to hook people in. People's attention span are really, really short. And I will say, it depends on the genre. It depends on the space that you're in. I'm in the entertainment space. So with the entertainment space, that applies. But obviously, if you're doing something about fishing or something like that, you're talking to people who, know that, then, and they're probably specifically looking for something. So if you're talking about baits, there's probably a way you can do that too. If you have a bait to say, hey, the bait that I use to catch the great white whale that nobody knows about, that might catch your attention, instead of saying, hey, I went to Bass Brothers and I bought, it was peanut butter I put on my hook and I caught the whale. Like, that probably is not going to be as catchy as, putting some dramatization to it. So be creative. Ultimately, that's the message. Be creative. Be creative.
100%. 100%. And to kind of reinforce that statement, right? Obviously, with social media, there's going to be a lot of emotional highs and lows, right? Which is why a lot of what we say is like, look, the views are important, but they're vanity metrics, right? The likes are important, but again, they're vanity metrics. So you really want to pay attention to people watching your entire videos and then engaging and then sharing it, right? Like, how many people are sharing your content? How many, like, and obviously not every piece of content is sharing worthy, right? Because sometimes you just want to keep it to yourself. But when you look at, let's say, um I just wrote this down, when captions go viral, right? So I think it was around 2021 when I forget his name, but he was the first person that started to really add captions onto their videos on screen, and those went viral, and everybody started adding captions to their stuff. Now,
Yeah.
why is that? Well, the reason is so many people watch their content on mute, right?
Yeah.
They're at work, they're in the bathroom, they're on their lunch break, and they don't want other people hearing what they're watching. So what are they gonna do? They're gonna watch on mute. So
Yeah.
having, like, this is like a little quote unquote tactic, but guess having captions on your videos is gonna make it go not go viral, but get more attention, because a
It
lot of
helps with the
people,
traction. Yeah.
exactly, a lot of people are watching on mute. So now let's kind of start to really speak on getting to going from 1,000 to 10,000, and then from 10,000 to 100,000, and then going from 100,000 to 200,000, and then what you're working on right now and what I'm helping you do so that you can get to that million. Right now, obviously, we're not just after the numbers, we're doing it for
Right.
business sake. Right now, if you're
Right.
someone who just wants the followers for the status, that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because it's still going to bring you in the money as long as you have the right strategies in place. So go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. So I just wanted to, because I don't know where you were going with it, but I was thinking. So this is what I want to say too. Yes, that's an important part. Do know, just because someone has a million followers or a lot of followers does not mean they are making money. That's an important thing. So it's like you have to figure out where you want, because some people just have followers, right? Some, even celebrities, some celebrities just have followers because they're famous. They don't care about making money off the platform or brand deals or anything like that. They could care. I know a lot of them, right? So just because you have a lot of followers, so you have to figure out where you want that follower to pay you and how you want them to pay you, right? So are you going to get paid from the platform itself? Are you going to get paid through a brand deal? Are you going to get paid by selling something? Are you going to get paid by sponsorships or product placement? So you have to figure out in there how you want to get paid from those views. The platform, that's the starter. That's the basic, right? But you want to, the name of the game is to monetize that same asset, being with your content, in as many places as possible. You want to be able to package that, repackage that content, take it to here, take it to there, take it to Snapchat, take it to TikTok, take it over here, remix it a little bit, take it over to here. And because again, just because you have people, you got to figure out how are those people paying you. So I just thought that was important, because I don't want people to think, oh, I get a million followers and then all of a sudden I'm getting money. No, you have to figure out, yes, you can make money from certain platforms, but you have to figure out where you want them, how you want them to pay you. But go ahead, Uno.
100%, 100%. And the biggest thing that sold me onto that fact that you don't need 1 million followers to
Hmm.
make $1 million
That's
is
right.
me literally working under a company, not even a company, under a person and her company and her personal brand, having less than 1,000 followers on Instagram, and she was making nearly $300,000 per month. And obviously, once she started implementing the right strategy for her social
Right.
media, obviously she started growing. Now she got 10,000. Now she got 20,000. I think she's at 30,000 now. And her net worth is up there. So I was like,
Exactly.
what?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that blew me away. And it literally reinforced the fact that as long as you know what you're doing, you do not need 1 million followers. Now, once you get your first 1,000 fans, that's 1,000 followers, 1,000 people that are interested. And then 10% are likely to buy from you, right? That's a good
Mhm.
metric that everybody goes into, is like at least 1 to 10% are willing to buy from you. So if you have 1 million followers, well, you can be sure that at least 1 to 10% are willing to buy from you, depending on the prices of your products. Now, going from once you get your first 1,000, it gets easier. And I'm not saying easy as in, oh yeah, now what I mean by it gets easier is now you have a formula, right? You understood, and you have a much better understanding of your content. So in order for you to go from 1 to 10, and Court, you can kind of give your aspect and your views on this. So going from your that 1,000 to 10,000, once you've had that initial formula,
Mhm.
now it's doing more. Everything is just doing more and doing more volume. And doing more volume doesn't necessarily mean, oh, I was posting once a day. Let me start posting
Right.
100 times a day.
Hmm.
Yes, but no. Posting 100 times a day, but multiple platforms. So now I'm not saying before you get
Yes.
to 10,000 on Instagram, you should do another platform. That's not what I'm saying. Before you get to
Mhm. Right.
10,000 on YouTube, you should do another platform. That's not what I'm saying. Get to that first 1,000 and then understand what to do next. Going from that 1,000 to 10,000, if it means that, okay, I got my
Mhm.
first 1,000 on YouTube, how can I start to grow and get 10,000? Well, now you're like, what if I started clipping and doing shorts? Now you're doing shorts. You have a much better, let's say, system for creating content, right? Now you're starting to systemize your content creation, and then
Mhm.
it's just doing more volume, right?
Yep.
And then going from 10, now that you got to 10, getting to 100 is the same format, but over a longer period of
Yes.
time, right?
Yes.
So before we go beyond 100, I kind of want to throw it to you, Court. And one last thing I'll say before I throw it to you, you always want to introduce yourself every single
Mhm.
time. The reason TV shows always have an intro, the reason that the biggest advertisers, Nike, Apple, the reason they always show the logo, you always introduce yourself because you're not after the people who already follow you. That's
Mhm.
great. You're creating content for them. But keep
Yep.
in mind, there's always more people are going to discover your content compared to the people that are already following you. So
Yep.
because more people are going to discover your content, you need to always introduce yourself, because guess what? They don't know who you are. They might like
Exactly.
your content. They don't know who you are. Well, I just saw this person today. I like their content, but they don't even remember your name. They don't even remember who you are or what you do. So it's finding an intro that works for you and keeping it short, right? For me, it could be, I'm a business consultant, or I'm
Mhm.
so and so, podcast host,
Mhm.
blah, 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 blah. So it's having a good, simple intro that works for you. And then obviously you refine it over time. So I want to throw it to you, Court, on, scaling with volume and really
Mhm.
like why numbers, it becomes a numbers game.
Yeah, yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it. As I said earlier, you're pretty much throwing things against the wall to see what sticks. And I always like to tell people, you can make it into the Hall of Fame with base hits. Everything is not going to be a home run. There are people literally in the Hall of Fame with base hits. You know what I'm saying? So, it is a volume game. And what I saw was, you have those home runs, so you're consistent, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, but then every now and again, you'll get a home run, which will jump you. Then you're doing this and you're doing this, then you get another one, it'll jump you. So that's the importance of repetition, swinging all the time, swinging. Myself, That's how it happened for me. And the funny thing about it, going back to what I said in terms of tactics and strategies, not only did I have content that went viral, and then you see an influx of followers and engagement and interest, but I also had, remember I told you my little secret of commenting and engaging with other platforms. I had some viral comments too, where I'm literally getting 50,000 likes on a comment and, 2,000 people replying to my comment. And then my just followers, followers, followers. I remember the first time I stumbled on that being a thing to do was I commented on 50 Cent. He had posted something, and I just so happened it came across my feed like 10 seconds after he posted it. And what I said resonated. And so it was like the top comment. And I'm not even lying. I probably got about 6,000 followers off that one comment, making that one comment. So that's when it dawned on me to say, oh, wow. Okay. Okay. I see something. And so now it happens frequently. Now it, it's almost like people look for my comments now, right? So, but again, you have the base hits, you have but it's volume. You have to keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. And again, doing the work is not only doing the work, but doing the work is also making the necessary changes. So, you have to be ready to pivot. You have to be ready because technology changes, the algorithm changes, the requirements change, people's taste change, the trends change. So you have, and I listen, as of recently, I've had to do it, to where you can kind of get comfortable and get in a groove of doing something. And it's like, nah, that's so 2023-ish. You know what I mean? Like now they're doing this. And it's like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? And you freshen it up a little bit. So yes, volume, volume and don't pay attention. It's just like if you're doing cardio in the gym. The last thing you want to do is be watching the clock.
Mm,
Just do the work. When I'm in the gym and I'm doing cardio, I put something over the timer and I just listen to my music or I zone out because if I'm looking at it and my goal is to do 20 minutes, oh my God, every second is like 10 minutes. You know what I mean? So I admonish you to just do the work. Just have fun. Every now and again, yeah, peek at the followers, peek and see, okay, but do the work, every day or every minute. Don't get up and say, dang, I got 2 new followers. Oh, today I got 10 new followers. Just do the work.
100%, 100%. And it's really just doubling down on what works, right? Once
Hmm.
you have your formula, you want to double down on it and then be adaptable, right? Be able to
Hmm.
adapt to new things, new features, new,
Yep.
new subjects, right? Because one, people already follow you and they need to
Hmm.
be constantly reminded, right? Like the way we learn is by being reminded. Because think about you follow someone because you like their quotes. Now, you might have heard
Hmm.
that quote 10 years ago, but because you heard the quote again, you're like, oh man, like that just remind
Hmm.
like you're in a different stage in life, and that same quote from 10 years ago hits different now, right? But you're still following that same page. That's why we choose to follow, right? We follow people not just because, oh, it's something new, but because you saw something from them that you liked and you potentially want to see that same thing again and
Hmm.
have that same emotion towards their new piece of content, right?
Right.
And when it comes to the production side of things, right? You want to they people want to see you improve. Now, depending on your content style, right? Maybe you keep the same type of content, but now you have better editing, right? Now you
Hmm.
have a better higher quality camera, right? So it's one, as you start to make more money, improve, right? Because you're only going to make more money if you improve. And if you're comfortable with what you're making, that's fine. But a lot
Hmm.
of people are not. And you always want to make sure that you're constantly evolving and improving. So that's basically the roadmap of going from 0 to 100,000. Now,
Hmm.
getting to 200,000, it's repeating it. It's literally doubling down on what works. And
Hmm.
let's say if it's a podcast style content, it's getting newer guests, it's getting different subjects, it's getting bigger guests, right? And it's just expanding, let's say, the topics that you speak on that attracts a new group of people. And it's the same thing for a business owner, right? People know you as a lawyer who speaks about, the clients that you help, and divorce people that you help, or whatever topics, right? But now you're expanding to business, or you're expanding to this or this and this, and people are gonna like you more for that. Not everybody, right? There's always gonna be the percentage of people that are like, man, why is he talking about this stuff? Let me swipe, and that's fine. But guess what? You're optimizing for growth, and the more you can optimize for growth, the more leads to your business, the more leads to not even leads, but now the more leads to your business, the more income in your pocket, because now you have more people that you can sell. So
Mhm.
to kind of end on this with Court. So what does it take to go from 100 to 200? And what are your plans on, continuing to grow and getting to that next benchmark?
Well, for me, in the podcast space, the same rule applies. I can't rest on my laurels. I can't get comfortable. It's a lot of competition. There's a lot of content. There's a lot of podcasts. There's a lot of platforms. So for myself, it's just trying to get better and better. And what does that better look like? That better could be, better conversation, better guest, the way that, well, one thing I do know too is it could be the editing. As in movie, you guys will see me always speak in movie terms because my productions and my background's in production. But as they say, the magic happens in the edit. So these all go back to the things of just catching people's attention. So my thing is, I'm already an established brand. So it's really at this point, I'm scaling. So yeah, I think it's just more, getting better. That's what I encourage you guys to do, is just get better each time. It's not about perfection. Don't rush the process. Even me, I have my process, and I have a process that's proven. I've been able to make good money in it. I've been able to live my life how I want to live it. I've been able to, extend opportunities and employ other people. I've been able to bring my family into it. So that's very gratifying. But in that, it still is business. So I would say, yeah, just, keep swinging, keep swinging. Don't worry about those base hits. I can't stress that enough, because if anybody has made it to the Hall of Fame with base hits, I am that person, because, for all intents and purposes, in my space, I could be considered the underdog, but I still get, my points. I still put points up on the board. You know what I mean? So I may not have it's like, if you compare it to, let's say, like LeBron, right? LeBron is LeBron, right? He gets all the looks, the endorsement deals and whatever, but there are several other people on that team as well. You know what I mean? They made it. They there. They gonna get the championship too. But so again, I'm in there. So I think it's just continuing to do the work and get better each time. That's the important thing.
100%. And most people don't even realize that it takes time, right? Like,
Yes.
so many people are
Yes.
trying to go from 0 to a million
Yes.
in 90 days,
Yeah.
right? It takes time. And you really want to be patient and take massive action, right? Reinvest as you start to learn, as you start to make more money. Look, Mr. Beast is what? He's literally a content creator turned billionaire, right? Like, just from all the things he's currently doing, planning, and launching, and what's in the next 10 years, there's no
Mhm.
reason for him not to hit that benchmark. And
Mhm.
what has he always done from day
Yeah.
one? Every piece, every dollar he's made from his content, he
Mhm.
reinvests it into his
Yep.
content, right?
Yep.
Whether it's better production, better
Yep.
scripts, better, scenes, cutting, editing, whatever it is, he's made a point to always reinvest. And now I think
Mhm.
he's spending like think about the budget for a movie. He's spending
Mhm.
that on videos. Like, he's spending
Mhm.
over $100,000 per month producing videos. So
Wow.
he's not taking it lightly. And it makes
Right.
sense that he just took the title of being the most followed person on YouTube. So
Wow.
think about that. It's not like, if you really want to play with the big dogs, you gotta take action that the big dogs are doing, which is reinvesting in themselves, reinvesting
Yes.
in their education, making sure they're always learning and staying top of their game, right?
Yep.
So I don't know if you have any final
Yeah,
statement.
my final thing is just bouncing off that, and I actually was going to end it with that is yes, I'm a big proponent of studying the people that are already doing or where you want to go. You know, study those people. Of course, you have the support of Duno and I. We can provide you with the back end and the insides of those things. But in terms of there's nothing wrong with everybody's inspired by somebody. If you think about your favorite actor, if you think about, say Denzel Washington, he studied Sidney Poitier. You know, Sidney Poitier studied James Earl Jones. You know what I'm saying? And so forth. But you take these pieces and then you make it your own. You take a little bit from this person, a little bit from that person, and then you find your own rhythm. So I encourage you to study those that are in your lanes, people that are where you want to get to, and then implement, how it makes sense for you. So yes, that's a good point. Study. You want to study.
100%. And guess what? You have us, right? For those of you that are inside the community, me personally, I'm constantly paying attention to everything, right? All the big guys, what are they doing? And how can that translate to money for you? It's not just, oh, what are they doing? And how can I help you guys grow like I'm not too much, I'm paying attention to what they're doing to grow, but I'm also
Mhm.
paying attention to the money side. What are they doing that's going to allow my clients, everybody in the university to
Mhm.
make
That's right.
more money? Because that's essentially what we're here for, to help you make your first dollar online, your
Mhm.
first $100, your first $1,000, and especially your first $10,000 online, right? For
Mhm.
most people, once they start making an extra $3,000 per month, they start being like, man, like I could really do this. Once you hit that benchmark, it's getting to 10,000 and just scaling up and scaling up. So
Yep.
that's essentially it for this one. So if you're not in the community already, make sure you tap in, and we'll actually have a free gift for you guys down below for those of you that are not inside and you just want to get a taste of everything. So
Mhm.
I'll speak with you guys on the next one. That's it for this one.
Yep. All right. Salute. See you guys soon.